We'll go on getting back, so I'm getting back, so I'm getting back, so I'm getting back. It's coming, football's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming, football's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming.
Tonight, we're not looking at tactical systems or VAR controversies. We are delving into the soul of international football. The tunes that define the tournaments. The anthems that transport you back to a sun-drenched terrace in your neighbour's garden, a crowded pub, or your living room carpet, and that essential Panini sticker album. We're charting the history of the official, the unofficial, the unforgettable, and the downright quirky songs of the FIFA World Cup and the UEFA European Championships. From the early, polite instrumentals to the global pop monsters of today, this is the soundtrack of our summer heartbreaks and glories. So, settle in. We're kicking off at the very beginning of the official musical era. Before 1962, World Cups were rather quiet affairs, musically speaking. You had your national anthems, of course, but nothing designed specifically to sell the tournament. That changed when Chile hosted. They wanted a party and they needed a tune. Enter Los Ramblers and El Rock del Mundial. This is where it all began. You can hear the era. It's joyful, it's frantic, it's innocent. And the tournament itself was anything but innocent. It's remembered for the infamous Battle of Santiago between Chile and Italy. A match so violent it needed police intervention. But amidst the brutality, a song was born. It was such a success that when football came home 4 years later, England decided they needed one too. But we're British. We don't do frenetic rock and roll for our national team. We do music hall. And we need a mascot. Ladies and gentlemen, the first iconic football song, Lonnie Donegan and World Cup Willie.
Dressed in red, white and blue, he's World Cup Willie, we all love him too. World Cup Willie, he's tough as a lion and never will give up.
It's bloody awful, isn't it? But brilliant. It's skiffle meets comedy. You can almost see the Bry nylon tracksuits and smell the rain on the Wembley turf. But whatever you think of Willie, that tournament was our finest hour. The highs of Hurst's hat-trick, Pickles the dog finding the trophy. It was, simply, the greatest summer England has ever known. World Cup Willie was the herald of our glory. The 70s arrived, and football changed forever. It was broadcast in colour. It was the era of Pelé and the magnificent Brazil team of 1970. The music had to match the magic on the pitch. Mexico hosted, and the official song, Football Mexico 70, gave us our first taste of true local flavour. It's got a bit of mariachi, a bit of pop, and a lot of sunshine. You can hear the heat rising off the pitch, the tournament of tournaments. Pelé's dummy, Moore's tackle, Banks's save. It was the high watermark of beautiful football. Now, we must look at the other major tournament, the European Championships. They were slower to adopt the official song model. In fact, they didn't really get going until 1980. But they started with a bang, sort of. A very synth-pop bang.
So they'll hear us back home, all the way from Naples, Milan, Turin and Rome. Now sing it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Euro 80 in Italy gave us Euro Kids with Goal.
And it's hey, the fans cheer. And it's a long, long way.
A tournament remembered largely for hooliganism and defensive football, soundtracked by Kraftwerk's less talented younger cousins. A low for the tournament, and a very quirky low for its music. Back to the World Cup, and a transition. By 1982 in Spain, they wanted class. They wanted majesty. They got Placido Domingo. The official song, Mundial 82, was an opera star singing about the greatest show on earth. It was majestic, perfect for the elegant Italian team of Rossi and Tardelli who won it. We returned to Mexico in 1986, the tournament of the hand of God and the goal of the century, Diego Maradona's tournament. The official song was fine, a polite stadium pop number called El Mundo Unido por un Balón.
México 86, México 86, el mundo unido por un balón.
Far side of the field, the ball out of the Paraguayan defence, the ball broken.
But it wasn't the real song of 86, was it? The song we all remember from that summer wasn't official at all. It was the broadcast theme for a certain terrestrial channel. The sound of synthesizers that meant Maradona is about to dribble past 5 people. Ladies and gentlemen, Arrow and Hot Hot Hot.
Feeling hot, hot, hot. Party people, all around me feeling hot, hot, hot. What?
They played it every ad break. It's soca music, not even Mexican. But that quirkiness is the memory of 86. The high of Maradona's genius, the low of English fury, and Hot Hot Hot. And now, we come to the watershed moment. The greatest football tournament and the greatest football song ever made. Italia 90. It was a tournament of lows for us. Gazza's tears, Waddle's penalty missing the stadium, the sheer boredom of many matches. But it was the high of our emotional connection to the team. And the music was sublime. The official song was a masterful rock ballad. Edoardo Bennato and Gianna Nannini with Un'estate italiana.
Notti magiche, inseguendo gol, sotto il cielo.
A promise of a magical summer. But even this isn't the song of Italia 90 for the British public. Because the broadcaster, the BBC, made a choice that changed everything. They decided that the sound of World Cup football was opera, and specifically, one aria. They took a recording from 1972 and made it the anthem of a generation. Ladies and gentlemen, Luciano Pavarotti, Nessun Dorma. Vincerò. I shall win. It was heartbreaking. It was triumphant. It was football as high art. We lost on penalties, but we won the soundtrack, the highest of highs. The blueprint had been set. But if Pavarotti brought the high art, the 1990 World Cup also gave us the ultimate high street cool. For England, it was a summer of intersection between football and club culture. The Football Association made a bold choice, pairing the England squad with Manchester legends New Order. The result? The first genuine England classic. It wasn't about nostalgic melancholy, it was about the energy of right now. It was cool, it was sleek, and with a little help from a very rhythmic John Barnes.
Slow or fast, but you must get to the line. They'll always hit you and hurt you.
World in Motion went all the way to #1, proving that for one summer, football and pop culture truly spoke the same language. If you want a good football song, don't make it about football. Make it about the feeling, the passion, and the English pride. Simply Red gave us a polite official anthem, but we didn't want polite. We wanted two comedians, the lead singer of the Lightning Seeds, and a massive dose of nostalgic melancholy. A song that wasn't about winning, but about the hope of winning. Despite knowing the historical probability of failure, Baddiel, Skinner, and the Lightning Seeds. 3 lions.
Everyone seems to know the score. They've seen it all.
It was a cultural phenomenon. You couldn't walk down the street without hearing it. It defined the high of that summer. Sheringham and Shearer dismantling Holland 4-1. And it defined the lowest low. Gareth Southgate's penalty in the semi-final. And do you know what the maddest thing is? It's a song about England always losing. And the German team loved it so much they sang it on their victory parade when they won the trophy. A quirky, wonderful twist of fate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we hit the turn of the millennium and the era of the global pop monsters, we must take a detour. Because for every 3 lions, or Nessun Dorma, history has buried a dozen musical misadventures. The songs that time, frankly, tried to forget. Let us rewind slightly to 1978. Argentina is hosting the World Cup. England, tragically, haven't qualified, but Scotland have. And under manager Ali McLeod, they didn't just think they were going to make up the numbers. They genuinely thought they were going to win the whole thing. The confidence, the sheer, unadulterated hubris, it birthed a song by Scottish comedian Andy Cameron, and it is a masterpiece of premature celebration. We're on the march with Ali's army. They had Kenny Dalglish, they had Graham Souness. The high was leaving Hampden Park to a hero's farewell. The low? Well, the low was a 3-1 defeat to Peru and a 1-1 draw with Iran.
We're going to the Argentine and we'll really shake them up.
They were on the plane home before the postcards arrived. A beautifully quirky song wrapped in absolute footballing tragedy. Let's leap forward to 1994. The World Cup goes stateside to the USA. The Americans, bless them, didn't quite know what to do with soccer yet. They wanted to inject some traditional American grandeur into the tournament. The official song wasn't a chant, it wasn't a samba, it was a gospel-infused soft rock ballad by Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates fame, alongside the sounds of blackness. Ladies and gentlemen, behold the forgotten majesty of Gloryland.
Rising high, you know that you can reach your goal, believe in what you do.
It sounds like the soundtrack to a soaring eagle flying over the Grand Canyon. Not exactly get it in the mixer, but you have to admire the sheer scale of it. The high of 94 was Roberto Baggio's Divine Ponytail. The low was Baggio blazing his penalty over the crossbar in the final. Gloryland indeed. But wait, 1994 gave us something even stranger. The defending champions, Germany, needed a song.
Would take on the underdogs from Bolivia, but there were a lot of surprises in Chicago.
They could have gone with Kraftwerk. They could have gone with the Scorpions. Instead, they flew the German national team to America to record a song with the Village People. Lothar Matthäus and Jürgen Klinsmann singing backing vocals for the men in the hard hat and the cowboy outfit. Listen to it. It is a glorious fever dream.
So wild and free, calling out for you and me. Ready for some action, that's the way it's gotta be.
The Germans were knocked out in the quarterfinals by Bulgaria, which remains one of the great World Cup shocks. Perhaps they were too busy practicing the YMCA choreography. A truly bizarre low for Die Mannschaft, but a high for novelty record collectors everywhere.
Far away in America, we're gonna make it.
Let's pop into the 2000s for one more oddity. 2002, the first World Cup in Asia, hosted by South Korea and Japan. A tournament of immense controversy, shocking refereeing, and Ronaldinho lobbing David Seaman from 40 yards. The official anthem by Vangelis was a brilliant, sweeping synth piece, but the official vocal song?
Here to rock you, never stop, no, raise up high. Oh.
FIFA enlisted American pop singer Anastasia. Have you ever heard a song that sounds exactly like a laser tag arena in the early 2000s? You have now. Boom. It's aggressive, it's totally disconnected from the host nation's cultures, and it was entirely overshadowed by the actual football. A perfectly forgotten slice of corporate pop history. And speaking of 2002, we can't leave this era without acknowledging the English pub culture reaction. We didn't have 3 lions this time. We had a team managed by a very calm, very polite Swede named Sven-Göran Eriksson. The country lost its collective mind after we beat Germany 5-1 in Munich during qualifying, and a comedy duo gave us the ultimate disposable terrace chant. Bell and Sperling with Sven, Sven, Sven.
They said, bring on the Germans, another mighty clash. We had to talk to Rudy Potter. She's got the biggest tash.
He's a lovely geezer, but don't forget that he's from Sweden. It is pure, unadulterated nonsense, packed with references to Emil Heskey and Michael Owen. It captures exactly what it felt like to be standing in a sticky carpeted pub in the autumn of 2001, daring to dream. The ultimate quirky high before the inevitable quarterfinal exit. Now, let's wipe the spilled pints off our shoes, step back into the main timeline, and return to the global superstars. We jump back to 1998. The tournaments were becoming global businesses, and the songs had to match. Forget skiffle, forget opera, we need Latin pop superstars. We need Ricky Martin. France 98, the official song, La Copa de la Vida, the Cup of Life, wasn't just a football song, it was a #1 single across the planet. It was unstoppable, and the high of that tournament for England was a teenager named Michael Owen scoring that goal against Argentina. The low? David Beckham's petulant red card in the same match. A beautiful high, a devastating low, soundtracked by Ricky Martin's hips. But France 98 also gave us a quirky gem. The tournament was so grand it had an official anthem and an official song.
92, one representing each of the participating countries.
But for the terraces, we wanted a club track. We got an instrumental that became the chant of a generation. Dario G, Carnaval de Paris. You still hear that today. A brilliant, simple bit of music that captures the chaos of a football festival. As we entered the new millennium, the Euro songs started to catch up in quality. Euro 2000 in Holland and Belgium gave us a serious club banger, E-Type, Campione 2000. A tournament of epic highs. England beating Germany in a tournament for the first time since '66. But the lowest low, losing to Romania in the last minute to go out in the group stages. Classic England, classic E-Type, a forgotten quirky high. Back to the World Cup, 2010, the first tournament in Africa, in South Africa. The Vuvuzelas made it the loudest World Cup in history, and they needed a song to match that vibrant energy. They didn't go for a global star. They went for a local artist with a global message. Canaan, Waving Flag.
Give me freedom, give me fire, give me reason, take me higher. See the
That is just pure joy, a song of hope and resilience. It wasn't the official song, but it was the one Coca-Cola picked, and it was the one that captured the high of that tournament. The spirit of Bafana Bafana and Sipiwe Chabalala's stunning opening goal.
singing songs underneath the sun. Let's rejoice in the beautiful game.
The low? Frank Lampard's goal that was clearly in but not given against Germany. A devastating quirk of technology. But we can't talk about 2010 without talking about the pop monster that was the official song, the superstar we had to have, Shakira. It was everywhere. Every ad, every goal montage, every child's dance routine.
You're a good soldier, choosing your battles. Pick yourself up and dust yourself off.
It was a pop masterclass. But for sheer anthemic heart, Canaan won the battle for the people.
This time for Africa.
We finished this era in Brazil in 2014, the Samba World Cup. It needed a grand finale. The song of the tournament was another instrumental, a song that, once again, the German team claimed as their own after they destroyed Brazil 7-1 and won the final. Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike, Tremor. It's the sound of thousands of people jumping. It became the official celebration song for the German team. A Dutch DJ's dance track played for a German victory in Brazil. A quirky global high-energy low for the hosts. We enter the modern age. The official songs are now slick, multi-artist, multi-language productions. They are good, but do they have the soul of a Three Lions or a Nessun Dorma? It's debatable. Euro 2016 in France gave us David Guetta and Zara Larsson with This One's For You. It's polished, it's grand, it was perfect for the opening ceremony. It soundtracked the ultimate high for Portugal, winning their first major trophy, and the lowest low for us, losing to Iceland, a country with more volcanoes than professional footballers. That was the defining memory of that summer, not the official song. Which brings us to a final quirky phenomenon of the modern era, the song that the terraces choose for themselves. In 2016, Northern Ireland qualified for their first Euro ever. They didn't have a pop star. They had a terrace chant about their star striker, based on a 90s Italian dance track. A fan on Twitter posted a video, and a monster was born. DJ Keno. Will Grigg's on fire. It's ridiculous. Will Grigg didn't even play a single minute in the tournament, but this was the anthem. Proof that the people will always decide the sound of their summer. A quirky, wonderful high of fan culture. Now, before we blow the final whistle, we have to open up the archives one last time. There are some tunes that didn't just haunt the charts, they became part of the very fabric of our matchday DNA. These are the songs that the official history books sometimes overlook, but the terraces never forget. It wasn't written for football. It's an American love song from the late 60s, but somehow, Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline became the unofficial anthem of victory, the sound of a stadium that simply doesn't want to go home. You can't help it, can you? It's the ultimate quirky crossover. And speaking of crossovers, let's look at the bands that captured that mid-90s spirit. Before the Three Lions roared, The Farm gave us a song about the 1914 Christmas truce that became a universal plea for unity on the pitch. And who can forget this little ditty by Fat Les and Blur bassist Alex James. The chorus, annoyingly infectious, being murdered by every England supporter during the summer of 1998, could be heard in pub gardens and estates all over the land. Although not a classic, it's still dusted off and played every time England get closer to the World Cup final. But the momentum didn't stop there. By 2006, we were looking for a new anthem to carry our hopes to Germany. We turned to Embrace and World at Your Feet.
With the world at your feet, there's no one you can't beat. Yes, it can be done. With the world at your feet, there's no height you can't reach.
It was grand, it was sweeping, and it captured that classic English mix of soaring ambition and quiet nervousness. As we moved into the late 2000s, the sound of the tournament began to reflect the streets. For Euro 2008, even though we weren't there, the spirit of the game was captured by the grime scene. Dizzy Rascal brought the energy with a heavy remix of Shout, because if you can't be at the tournament, you might as well make some noise. And finally, we have to talk about the charm of the pop-era collaboration.
If you see me walking down the street.
In 2002, Atomic Kitten took their massive hit Whole Again and reworked it for the squad. It's the definition of a guilty pleasure football track. Quirky, unashamedly pop, and undeniably catchy.
Southgate, you're the one. You still turn me on. Football's coming home again.
From the synth-pop of Manchester to the soul of Neil Diamond, these are the songs that fill the gaps in our memories. They might not all have trophies, but they all have a place in the great footballing songbook.
If only for a while, football's coming home again.
Well, we've been on a journey. From Lonnie Donegan's quirky Willie to Pavarotti's majestic voice. From the village people dancing with Klinsmann to Shakira's Waka Waka-ing. The soundtrack of international football is a glorious mess. A mix of high art, low comedy, corporate polish, and organic terrace insanity. They are the triggers for our collective memory. They remind us of the sun, the hope, and yes, the inevitable penalties. But that's the beauty of it. Whether it's coming home, or Waka Waka-ing, or to be number one, we will always listen. Because in football, like in music, it's the hope that kills you, but it's the melody that keeps you singing. This has been Hollywood Riches to Rags. Good night and until next time.